As the final beams of my lake cabin crashed toward the water, I stood watching, my jaw tight, while Cynthia Reynolds, the self-appointed dictator of our HOA, smirked with victory. Her clique of loyalists clapped like they'd just won a war. They thought they'd crushed me. What they didn't know was that I'd been quietly building a case, every snide remark, every threat, every move meticulously recorded. As the county's land permit director for over a decade, I held the keys to their world, and they'd just picked a fight with the wrong man. 3 years ago, I lost my wife, Emily, to cancer. Her dying wish haunted me. A small cabin by the lake where our daughter, Sophie, could grow up chasing sunsets, just like we did when we fell in love. One day, David, she'd whispered during a rare good day in chemo, we'll build that place for Sophie. Emily never saw it come to life, but I swore I'd make it happen. With my job, I knew the system inside out. I filed every permit, double-checked property lines, and ensured the land tucked by a quiet lake just beyond our main property was outside the Pineview Estates HOA's reach. Or so I thought. The day we broke ground was bittersweet. Sophie, 12 and wise beyond her years, wore Emily's old sun hat and shoveled the first dirt with a grin that echoed her mom's. She'd love this, Dad, she said, and my heart ached. We kept it small, just me, Sophie, and a few trusted friends. Tom Bennett, a 65-year-old retired county official who now ran the local hardware store, and Rachel Carter, a real estate lawyer from the next neighborhood. It was a crisp spring morning, the kind where the breeze keeps the bugs at bay. We just marked the foundation when Cynthia stormed up, her fake designer coat flapping, her heels sinking into the lakeside mud. "What do you think you're doing, David?" she snapped, her overdone makeup failing to mask her disdain. "This violates HOA rules. Section 23.4 requires board approval, which means me." Tom snorted behind me. Cynthia was infamous, a former corporate manager fired for her controlling streak, now ruling Pineview like her personal fiefdom. "Actually, Cynthia," I said, holding up my permit folder, "this land's outside your jurisdiction. I've checked the county surveys." She didn't flinch, just glared through her oversized sunglasses. The next day, an HOA violation notice hit my mailbox, threatening $500 daily fines. I tossed it in the trash. But Cynthia wasn't done. She called an emergency HOA meeting, painting my cabin as a blight on property values, an eyesore ruining Pineview's pristine aesthetic. I stood before 20 neighbors, explaining the cabin was modest, built to code, and on my land. Some nodded. Others, Cynthia's cronies, scowled. Her deputy, Greg Larson, a 48-year-old gym chain owner, puffed out his chest. "Rules are rules, David. Your county job doesn't make you untouchable." Rachel caught me outside after. "Cynthia's dangerous, David. She's made enemies of half the neighborhood." I shrugged it off. I had permits, ownership, and the law on my side. What could she do? A week later, a letter from a law firm arrived, signed by Cynthia's husband, Mark Reynolds, a corporate attorney. It threatened lawsuits over aesthetic violations and encroachment. This wasn't just HOA nonsense, Anna Maria, it was personal. Sophie found the letter one morning, her eyes wide. "Dad, is this about our cabin?" I forced a smile, quoting Emily, "Don't let the turkeys get you down." She giggled, but I saw her worry. That afternoon, I met Rachel at her office, her walls lined with law books. "This is harassment," she said, reviewing my documents. "Your land's beyond their boundary, but Cynthia's out to break you." She leaned forward. "You're not cowering like the others. That makes you a threat." We agreed to keep building while she prepped legal defenses. She added, "Document everything, David. We'll need it." I installed security cameras and pushed forward with construction. Tom got me discounted lumber, and we made progress. Meanwhile, Cynthia ramped up her attacks, calling my office daily with fake code violations. My boss, James Harper, 52, rolled his eyes. "She claims your foundation's too close to the water," he said. I told her we've inspected it twice, but the complaints were straining my team. Then I noticed something during a routine inspection. Greg Larson had an unpermitted pool in his backyard, no safety fence. I noted it but held off reporting, hoping for peace. Peace didn't come. One Tuesday, while I was at a county training, Sophie called, panicked. "Dad, Mrs. Reynolds is here with Mr. Larson and others. They're trying to inspect the lake area and won't leave." I raced home, calling Rachel to meet me. I found Cynthia and her posse at my property's edge, eyeing the half-built cabin. Sophie watched from the kitchen, terrified. "What are you doing on my land?" I demanded. Cynthia didn't blink. HOA inspection. It's our right. I shot back. Not without notice, not without me, and not outside your jurisdiction. Greg stepped forward, flexing. We've had complaints. I laughed. From who? The nearest neighbors 100 yards away. Cynthia's eyes narrowed. Your daughter was rude, David. Teach her respect for authority. That crossed a line. My daughter knows to watch out for trespassers. Get off my property, or I'm calling the sheriff. Rachel's car pulled up, and Cynthia's group retreated, but not before she hissed, this isn't over. That night, Sophie was quiet. Mrs. Reynolds said you're above the law, and you'll lose your job, she whispered. I hugged her. She's mad because I won't let her control us. Everything I'm doing is legal. But her question lingered. Will she stop Mom's cabin? I promised, no one's stopping us. At the next HOA meeting, I confronted Cynthia. Stay away from my daughter. Keep this between us. She smirked. A threat, Mr. Thompson? I know county board members. Your job's not safe. I smiled. I've enforced codes fairly for 15 years. My record's clean. But trouble was brewing. Someone tampered with my cabin's county files, faking violations using James's credentials. Then, one night, I found my construction site trash cement bags slashed, lumber ruined, cameras disabled. Standing in the rain, fury settled in. If Cynthia wanted war, she'd get it. I met Tom at his store. What's your move? He asked. Better cameras, and I'm not stopping, I said. He handed me military-grade cameras, waving off payment. For Emily's cabin. We installed them, and I ordered new materials. Cynthia escalated further, leading a protest with signs about protecting property values. I ignored them, hammering away. She shouted, We filed a county complaint, David. Your job won't save you. The next day, James handed me a notice. My permits were under review, pushed by Commissioner Harris, who golfed with Mark Reynolds. Rachel called with a breakthrough. The HOA expanded its boundaries in 2018 to include lakefront properties illegally, without 75% homeowner approval. My land was in that gray zone. At an emergency county meeting, Commissioner Harris accused me of a conflict of interest for approving my own permits. I explained I'd followed protocol, with approvals from a senior planner. Then Sophie called, frantic. Dad, they're tearing down the cabin. I rushed home, James tailing me. A demolition crew, hired by Cynthia, had razed half the structure. She stood watching, smug, with Greg. Sophie sobbed on the porch as Rachel argued with the foreman. Stop this, I yelled. You have no authority here. The foreman showed an HOA letter, not a county order. This is illegal, I said. James flashed his ID. No demolition permits exist for this address. Cease now. Cynthia feigned innocence. A misunderstanding. We're enforcing HOA rules. I faced her. This is trespassing, destruction, and fraud. Greg stepped in. Interfere, and we'll have you arrested. I laughed. Call the sheriff. I'd love to explain this. As the crew stopped, a beam collapsed, and Sophie cried out. I turned to Cynthia, voice low. You've made a catastrophic mistake. That night, I held Sophie as she clutched Emily's sweater. Are we giving up? She asked, staring at the wreckage. No, I said. Sometimes you sacrifice a piece to win the game. Her eyes lit up. Like chess. Our dining room became a war room. Rachel brought legal files, Tom a whiteboard. We mapped the HOA's weaknesses, illegal boundary changes, financial misconduct, and violations by board members. I reviewed county records, finding Greg's pool, Cynthia's unpermitted gym, and more. Rachel uncovered former HOA members' stories of Cynthia's bullying and research trips to resorts paid with HOA funds. Tom dug into the Reynolds past, 3 HOA battles, lawsuits, and relocations. James confessed Commissioner Harris had pressured him to flag my permits, fearing for his job. I looked at the ruined cabin and saw my path. As permit director, I could order inspections. I started with Greg's pool, assigning our toughest inspectors. Notices went to 6 HOA properties, fines totaling $20,000. Cynthia called an emergency HOA meeting, accusing me of a vendetta. I stood calmly. Every inspection followed protocol, enforcing codes the HOA claims to champion. But there's a bigger issue. In 2018, under Mrs. Reynolds' leadership, the HOA illegally expanded its boundaries without homeowner approval. I handed out proof, sparking murmurs. The meeting erupted as neighbors demanded answers about dues and the cabin's demolition. Cynthia stormed out, slamming her gavel. The next morning, I mailed every Pineview household a letter exposing the boundary fraud, financial irregularities, and Cynthia's selective enforcement. By noon, she burst into my office. "You think you can turn my neighborhood against me?" she hissed. "I made Pineview." I leaned back. "You've alienated them yourself. I'm just exposing it." She threatened my job, boasting Mark's ties to the county executive. I slid a file across my desk, pages of violations, affidavits, and discrepancies. Her bravado faltered. "We can settle this," she said, pulling out her checkbook. $25,000 for the cabin. "Drop this." I activated Rachel's hidden recorder. "A bribe, Mrs. Reynolds?" She stammered. "Compensation, not a bribe." I stood. "Talk to my lawyer." That afternoon, an anonymous ethics complaint clearly Cynthia shipped me, alleging conflicts of interest. It restricted my permit authority, stalling the HOA inspections. Rachel was undeterred. "We'll file an injunction against the HOA for boundary fraud and add bribery charges." The county hearing was a circus, packed with neighbors, Cynthia and Mark in the front row, exuding confidence. Mark painted me as a rogue official, Cynthia as a saintly volunteer. I countered with evidence. My permits were clean, the HOA's demolition was illegal, and their boundary expansion was fraudulent. Sophie stood, voice trembling. "My mom dreamed of that cabin before she died. It was small, just for us to remember her." Mrs. Reynolds tore it down to win. Her words silenced the room. Mark presented doctor documents, claiming I'd fast-tracked permits for friends. Rachel whispered, "Those are fake." I demanded the county's digital records, and panic flashed across Mark's face. Rachel distributed proof of the HOA's misdeeds, playing the bribery recording. Cynthia's voice echoed, offering me money. The IT team confirmed Mark's documents were altered. Neighbors, led by Sarah Mitchell, a teacher, testified about Cynthia's intimidation and misused funds. A former treasurer revealed her research trips to resorts. Cynthia unraveled, interrupting until warned of removal. The board cleared me of wrongdoing and suspended the HOA's authority, launching an investigation. They urged Cynthia to resign. She exploded, "I'll sue," but was silenced by the gavel. Neighbors mobbed me with support, apologizing for their silence. Cynthia and Mark slunk out, their allies abandoning them. Her glare met mine, fury mixed with disbelief at her downfall. I felt no triumph, only relief. The aftermath was swift. Cynthia faced $30,000 in questionable reimbursements, Greg and others hefty fines. A civil judgment ordered the Reynolds to pay $70,000 for the cabin's destruction. Sarah became interim HOA president, restoring fair boundaries. Commissioner Harris took leave amid tampering questions. James, guilt-ridden, approved my new permits himself. The Reynolds house hit the market, followed by Greg's, both desperate to flee. Spring brought the cabin's rebirth. Neighbors, Tom's customers, even James pitched in, turning it into a community triumph. Sophie led volunteers, her designs honoring Emily. Rachel became a constant presence, our bond deepening. One sunset, on the half-built porch, she said, "Sometimes the worst things lead to the best." I nodded, squeezing her hand. Emily said life takes detours to where you need to be. Sophie, catching us, grinned and slipped away. By summer, the cabin stood proud, its windows framing the lake. Tom gifted a sign, Thompson's Promise, with Emily's beloved hummingbird. At Pineview's block party, Sarah gave us a wind chime, symbolizing community support. Sophie hung Emily's photo, asking, would Mom like it? I hugged her. She'd love every inch. Rachel, holding my hand, said, I feel her spirit here. That night, on the porch swing, Rachel mused, if Cynthia hadn't attacked, would we be here? I looked at Sophie, sleeping under Emily's photo, then at Rachel. She didn't understand what's worth fighting for: promises, community, love. Tom's final gift was a carved box with a gavel inscribed, "Justice needs a permit signature." I laughed, the weight of the fight lifting. Standing on the porch, lake glinting under the stars, I whispered, "We did it, Emily." In the breeze, I swore I heard her reply, "I knew you would."